All right, people, we should be back. Let me know if you're having any trouble hearing me. I think we should be all good to go. If you all can let me, okay. It appears that we are indeed live. Let me make sure. I think we should be good to go though. Oh, well, considering that I'm echoing back into my own mic, I guess we are good. All right, let me just share this to Facebook. Of course, if you all are watching, please, if you all could share, that'd be absolutely freaking fantastic. So, I need to apologize for so the thumbnails for YouTube, well, just YouTube in general, has been acting absolutely ridiculous recently. So, my excuse me, my thumbnail does not match the actual thumbnail, and I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or what, but this has happened to me a couple of times in the past where YouTube just decides to do what it wants to, and I can't do anything about it apparently. But you know, work with what you got. Beggars can't be choosers. So, thank you all so much for tuning in this morning. I am your host, Niko House, and you are watching Mikasa Sukasa, and I urge you all to join our One Follow, $1 campaign, where we show the mainstream media that if they will not invest in the truth, then we will invest in those who will. You can join that campaign by donating just $1 to the Patreon link in the description. Also, make sure that you hit subscribe. If this is your first time watching, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. I promise you will not regret it. Join us on our road to 10,000 subscribers. We hit 10,000 likes and way over 10,000 followers on Facebook. Don't ask me how that happened. And we're steadily climbing, steadily growing every day. And I would love for you all to be a part of that growth. I don't care. And many of the people in the comment section can attest to this. I don't care if you're conservative or progressive, left or right. As long as your main concern is truth, then this is indeed the channel for you. So I urge you all to subscribe if you have not already, and make sure you turn on that notification bell as well. So it looks like the Democrats have figured out exactly who they're going to choose to support in 2018. There's a problem with that. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about it, but I'm going to let my friend Mike Sonato, who is an author and a journalist who writes for several news or media outlets, one of them being The Real News. Mike Sonato reports that this week the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee announced its support for 7 more congressional candidates as part of its Red to Blue program, which is essentially, as you know, considering that they're two sides of the same coin, that's like saying that Two-Face has flipped his coin, and that Two-Face has a new coin being mailed in so that he can further progress his heads-to-heads program. If you've all seen The Dark Knight, you know exactly what I'm talking about. As in he created his own luck. It was only heads, and that was it. So that's pretty much what they're saying. But it was an effort to flip congressional districts with open seats currently held by Republicans. According to the DCCC website, the endorsements include organizational and fundraising support to help them continue to run strong campaigns. But the DCCC's, okay, just want to make sure I didn't have too many C's. But the DCCC's support comes before the candidates have even won their primary races, in many cases against progressive candidates. Double back. Didn't we already have this conversation? Does this feel like a little bit like deja vu? A little bit. How have you decided who you are going to support in an election against your Republican opponent if you don't know who won the election yet? Ooh, that's awkward. By the way, just as an aside, During the DNC fraud lawsuit hearing, when the opposing side made a motion to dismiss, the judge asked them pretty directly, do you help fundraise for candidates in states despite the fact that they may be running against someone else or there may be another Democrat in the race? Do you all choose candidates beforehand? They said, no, not to my knowledge. I don't think so. No. Interesting. That's definitely not what the Hillary Victory Fund said. That's not what the Hillary for America Fund said. That's obviously not what the state parties think as well, because they help them fundraise. So this is just another example of how the DNC will just lie at any turn when it's time for them to be held accountable. So despite the competitive primaries, many of their back candidates face, the DCCC is pouring resources and funding into their campaigns before voters can even decide who to nominate. In contrast to these endorsements, the DCCC sent out a memo to all Democratic congressional candidates in December 2017 that stipulated that every candidate must refrain from attacking other candidates in the primary races and go on a unity tour after the primary election ends. If that is not adding insult to injury, people. Do you understand what they're saying? Mike Sonato, once again, brilliant journalist, by the way. I encourage you all to follow him on Twitter. Dude always has the beat on everything that's going on corrupt-wise in the DNC. Essentially, the DNC has literally poured resources, poured money, and I can attest to this, by the way, because I've seen it happen right here in Florida, in Broward County, she's in the 43rd district. Don't quote me on that. But the DNC poured money into her opponent, who sucks. Like, the opponent's not even good. The opponent didn't even want to run for office. In fact, they weren't going to run anybody for that office until Stephanie Myers decided she was going to run. And she ends up she's extremely progressive, extremely pro-environment. Very much so like anti-establishment. And that's when they decide to run somebody. And they're pouring resources into that race, specifically so that Stephanie Myers doesn't win. But then they have the nerve, the unadulterated gall, if you will, to say that after we cheat you out of your election, make sure that you go on a unity tour. Oh, and by the way, don't attack the other person. Ooh, hold up. How am I supposed to win? I mean, and I don't want to, they say attack, but mind you, when the DNC says attack, what they actually mean is don't actually reveal the truth about your other person's stances and policies, because that could put us in a precarious predicament, and our lobbyists don't like when people know the truth about how much money they're investing in their politicians. That's actually what they mean to say. So they don't want you revealing the truth about their candidates, which is a weird thing to do or to say, I think. Like, when they debate each other, what are they going to talk about? What are they going to do? I'm better. Well, why? Well, I can't really say because, well, I'm not allowed to address my opponent's shortcomings. But just know that based on everything I'm saying, that I'm better. No, I'm better. Well, why? Well, I can't really say, and I don't have to, because all the money has been donated to my campaign, and we know that as far as local elections are concerned, 95% of elections are won based off of the money poured into that campaign. So I don't have to say anything. But I'm not going to attack her because I don't need to. I'm not going to attack him because I don't need to. That's what we're dealing with right now. For Utah's 4th Congressional District, the DCCC formally endorsed former Salt Lake City Mayor Ben McAdams, though he currently faces 3 Democratic primary challengers. What the hell? 3 challengers. Let's not wait to see how it develops, right? Let's see who's the most viable candidate. Let's not wait to see. I'm telling you, Democratic strategists are the worst strategists in the history of political strategy. They gotta be. They have to be. I would like to point out, I would like to point out that Ben McAdams currently has no public platform and has not given the constituents of this district a reason to support him other than he's not Mia Love. Tom Taylor, a progressive Democrat running in Utah's 4th district, told Real News, if he or the DCCC think that they can beat Mia Love on the name recognition alone, they are sadly mistaken. I'm assuming Mia Love is a Republican, his Republican opponent. Now, that's just one example. And Mike Sonato, like I said, which I encourage you all to go check it out, he lists several examples of this. And for those of you just joining, like I said, I want to apologize about the thumbnail. YouTube is doing it. It is not me. That is not the thumbnail that's actually on there. But what the hell, people? Like, I know that there are a lot of people who are having the constant debate about dem enter versus dem exit. But I don't care if you're either one of them. What we are seeing right now is a travesty, because these people who are progressive, think about it from a logic perspective. If you are a Democratic candidate, just say if it was a 1v1, one versus one opponent versus another opponent in a Democratic primary election. If you are the candidate who is not being backed, if you are the candidate who is being ignored, if you are the candidate who isn't the promised one by the DNC, if you're the candidate who actually has a campaign, that means that you're likely the progressive candidate. You're likely the one that's going to do the right thing for your community. And from that perspective, in and of itself, it's sad. It's actually infuriating. I don't give a damn if you're dem exit or dem enter. That's infuriating, because now there is a community that will potentially be worse off. And there is a person who has invested their time, their money, time spent away from their family, time spent away from their personal business, time spent away from their jobs, that legitimately ran because they were seriously concerned about the future of their community. And they are being totally undercut simply because they're progressive. Not that they're not a registered Democrat, but because they're progressive. Because you have to remember, people, a lot of these are closed primary states, which makes it almost impossible for an independent to win. Like in Florida, for example. So like in a place like Utah, in a lot of these local elections, how the hell are they planning to flip seats? What, are they going to rely on those polls? Those so reliable. Yeah, you know, Republican Party is as unpopular as ever. Trump is the most unpopular president in history. Like I said, if you believe that, I have a I'm with her bumper sticker that's worth about as much as the polls were worth in 2016. That I can sell you right now for $1 million. If you believe that. You keep believing these polls. Understand something. If you have taken any basic poll, like college level polling analysis class, one of the first things you learn is that polls are most often used to project an outcome, not necessarily to reflect an outcome. And that's including the people who are taking the polls, who are responding to the polls. And they also tell you, once you get into highly controversial issues, the polls will probably not accurately reflect exactly how the person feels about a situation. That obviously was the case with Donald Trump, right? 99% chance they said Hillary had have beaten him. 99% chance. Whew. Talk about a margin of error. 99% chance they said. So, thinking that just because Trump is unpopular, thinking that just because the Republican Party, thinking just because the polls say Trump is unpopular, because I don't believe that. And I'm not even a Trump fan. And I am not naive enough to think about it like this. And Trump fans probably feel the same way as, sorry about that. Trump fans probably feel the same way as us Bernie people did. Whenever they were like, yeah, Bernie isn't as popular as Hillary Clinton. Look at the rallies. I mean, okay, let's not look at the rallies. Rallies don't even determine the outcome of Democratic primary elections, which, by the way, is completely and utterly false. Crowd turnout almost directly. This isn't like a presidential general election. If you are involved enough in the Democratic primary that you would actually go out and wait in the line to see someone, you're likely going to vote for them. So, like, there's never been a case in history where crowd turnout determines the where crowd turnout did not determine the outcome of a Democratic primary election. But anyway, so like I said, Trump people probably feel the same way about Bernie Sanders as we, the Bernie Sanders supporters who have been paying attention, feel about Trump. We've had the establishment try to convince us that Bernie Sanders is not as popular as he actually is, that his policies are not as popular as he actually is, that democratic socialism itself isn't as popular, universal health care isn't as popular, you know, all that bullshit. They lied. They lied. The polls were not true. Same thing happened to Trump. The right establishment, and at this point the left, tried to blackball Trump by projecting what they wanted the American people to think through polls. And if you look at the sample sizes, if you look at, like, you can't trust polls nowadays, and it's sad. Not in those type of issues. Not when, unless there's like exit polling is pretty concrete. Like, it just happened. You're getting someone as they're leaving that polling station in that state, in that precinct, that district, whatever. But you're just asking some person generally on the street, like casually, hey, are you gonna vote for Trump again? Or do you like Trump? I don't like Trump. If they ask me, do I like Trump? I would say, no, I don't like him. What the hell does that have to do with whether I would vote for him again? You get what I'm saying, people? Understand something. There were even Hillary people. I won't even say Hillary people. There were Bernie Sanders supporters who hated Hillary and voted for her because they thought that thought keyword, but they thought she was the lesser of two evils. So if you ask them if they like Hillary Clinton, they would likely tell you no. But what does that have to do with how they voted? So, pretending that just because Trump is unpopular as a person doesn't mean that you will win a bunch of congressional seats across the country by picking establishment candidates because you think it's a walk-off home run. Remember what y'all did last time? I don't know. It seems like it might have been way too long ago at this point. It seems like it's been way too long. Almost 15 years ago, or more like 3, maybe more like 2 years ago, 2016. That this all is omniscient, omnipresent establishment figure who is clearly the expert, the leading expert in Democratic strategy. Clearly she was. The promised one, if you will. She came up with this amazing strategy saying that, you know what? It doesn't matter how unpopular I am. I'll just convince the world that he is more unpopular. And that strategy worked out horribly. It didn't work at all. It did not work. And if it didn't work with someone as braggadocious and egotistical and blatantly offensive as Trump, how are you going to expect to beat Republicans with establishment candidates who are pretty much centrist Republicans in elections that Republicans have always dominated? And what I mean by that is that in the midterm elections, Republicans have literally always dominated. Because for whatever reason, there's a lot of different reasons, but the main reason is Republicans turn out more in midterm elections. They always have, they always do, and they likely always will, because liberals still believe CNN and MSNBC. If they just underestimated how much Fox News, okay, Luna decided to climb up there. That's my baby girl, Luna, by the way. She's the queen of the house, which is why she gets to stay out here. But liberals underestimate how much fear Fox News creates. Like, Republicans will go out of their way to make sure that their Republican candidate stays in office over anybody else. They don't give a damn who that person is at that point. As long as if they're Republican and they're going against a Democrat, understand that those Republicans, some older, I ain't got nothing else to do. I can do what the hell I want to with my time in the morning. Republicans, they will be out there in full force making sure that their Republican candidates win. It's always been that way. Because, damn, can't believe I'm about to say this, but it's true. The left only cares about politics when it's popular to care about politics. That's true. I think that any legitimate progressive can agree with that. The left, I'm gonna give a perfectly good example of this. Barack Obama. If I asked the average black person on the street how they feel about Barack Obama, they would give these raving reviews. And it's all ad hominem, like characteristic reviews. Oh, he was so well-spoken and articulate. That really doesn't have anything to do with his policies. Well, he had a lot of class. That's not what I asked you. I don't give a damn about his class. I don't care. I'm not like reviewing his application. I don't care about his class. What I want to know is, why do you like him? Why did you inspire him to vote? Well, he was the first black president, who had a legitimate chance. I don't care. I didn't ask you all that. I didn't ask you that. What I said was, why do you like him? What about Barack Obama's policy stances do you like and did you like? That keeps making you say we should have Barack Obama and the Obama family in the White House over Donald Trump. What about them? And they're like, well, look what he did for X, Y, Z. No. Because if you all don't know this, and this probably may be to much of the surprise to the right, Barack Obama enhanced the police state and policing across this country. He didn't deplete it. He didn't mitigate it. He enhanced policing across this country, both at the military level, at the intelligence level, and at the literal police department level. He refused to address the cop killings, the cops killing black people. He refused to address that in his first 4 years of office for fear it would affect his election. Barack Obama was not pro-LGBTQ. He was not for marriage equity until it became politically convenient for him to be so. Barack Obama was literally, that's a perfect name for him, because he was literally Obama, as in he was bombing every country that crossed his path, from Syria to Yemen. He expanded proxy wars. It went from fighting with 2 countries to 6 during his term. He lied about what was happening in the Ukraine involving Russia. He made it seem like Russia went into the Ukraine unprovoked, but what he failed to mention was that the United States and the European Union and the Ukraine were actually going to make a deal, a trade deal that would have pretty much blackballed Russia. And that's why Russia made the move. And we made the deal with Ukrainian dictators and oligarchs to benefit their pockets. And so he tried to make Russia out to be this dangerous, evil entity. And it just simply was not the case. They were trying to protect their national interests the same way that you claim that we're trying to. So you get what I'm saying here? The left is very easily fooled, and they only invest into their time and their effort and their energy into politics whenever it's a popular trending topic. So I can say that, that is one impressive thing about the right, is that on average, I would say the libertarian group, the central right, or even I guess they call themselves the MAGA conservatives, the Trump conservatives, if you will. They even invest a lot of time into politics when they're in off seasons and off political seasons than most of the left does. So Clearly, because you don't get duped into voting and supporting Hillary Clinton unless you're only watching politics when it's popular. You don't get duped into believing that Barack Obama was some type of savior. Hell, even the right got duped. You're calling Barack Obama Muslim? What are you talking about? He out here killing more Muslims than any conservative president has. And that's a fact. He's out here, he was responsible for more Muslim deaths than any conservative president. Barack Obama was in charge when more black people were killed by police officers than any conservative president without doing a damn thing about it. These are facts. So maybe, just maybe, if the left, including the establishment left who was involved in politics, would stop paying attention to political strategy when it's time to run for elections, they would be able to actually win an election in the off season. But for the time being, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Because, well, like I said, just look at what we're dealing with right now. So I'm going to post a link to Mike Sonato's article in the description below. I encourage you all to follow Mike Sonato on Twitter. Hold on, let me see what his Twitter handle is, and I'll go ahead, excuse me, and post that. Boy, I'll also say it so you all know. Because I'm serious when I tell you Mike, his Twitter handle is at MSAINAT1. So once again, that's at MSAINAT1. And I definitely encourage you all to follow him because he always has the inside scoop on what's going on in the DNC and the Democratic Party and all that good stuff. Like, excuse me, the dude knows his stuff. Brilliant writer, dedicated to exposing the things that we may not hear about. Like, think about it. As far as reporting, it's probably the only report you're going to hear about this story. This, even though the article was extremely well written, extremely informational, this is the only reporting on in a broadcasting sense that you're probably going to hear about this story. And that's really because like I said, I'm friends with Mike Sonato, so I always try to bolster his articles because he writes some good stuff, as you can tell. And so definitely go follow him on Twitter. Great guy. And I am now about to get ready to do my actual podcast. So with that being said, if you do not follow my podcast, you can follow me by looking up MCSC Politics on Podbean. I'll also post a link in the description. And I definitely encourage you all to watch my podcast from yesterday. Like I said, listen to the entire thing before you judge. It's involving, well, actually, I'll just tell you what the title is. It's called Blue Lives Don't Matter Anymore, with the question mark at the end of it. There's a reason for the question mark. And once you hear the podcast, you'll understand exactly why. So I definitely encourage you all to go listen to that podcast because it is it's from everything that everybody's been telling me. They loved it. Both the left and the right both loved it. And they said it was pretty eye-opening for them. And it made them think a lot about how they receive and intake information. So thank you all so much for watching. And I will be back on later on this evening for my live radio show on American Freedom Radio. So I hope to see you all this evening. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace.